here. Thanks for the invitation, GMIC. Mr. Chair, welcome. So today, when the presentation starts, I want to give you a little bit inspiration. So I'm not doing a company presentation which bore you, more like giving you a little bit outlook, what is happening, what will happen, and what is exciting in the future. So maybe one word on me. So basically I'm running a company out of Berlin. We are a supplier for B2B solutions for server-side technology for connected car, which sounds very difficult. But in the end, it's everything you guys in Taiwan did already with the CE industry. So to start off, looking 100 years back in time, so the first investors from Ford once said that the horse is actually something which will stay and the automobile is basically something which is just a fashion. And as we know, somehow it happened differently. In 1927, there were millions and millions of Model Ts already sold. So there's another guy, chairman of IBM, who said there is just a market for 5 computers. Especially Taiwan, you changed that. And what's today? There are different numbers, but actually some of them say there are 6 billion connected devices, Internet of Things, Internet of Beings, or Internet Plus, whatever you call it. And this will change dramatically until 2020, when the expectation is 50 billion devices connected, including the automobile. So maybe a question to you, who remember that? Anyone? Okay, I help you. This is from Back to the Future. This happened just recently, that it landed in this year. No, just kidding. So basically this was the vision, the idea from a DeLorean, how potentially a car could look like in the future. And looking a little bit in the future right now, more or less it happened. It will come out, the Model X. So we see there are similarities. And what is quite exciting now looking into the computer software world is that Tesla and also some other companies showed in the last months that it's possible to update and basically make new functions available in your car, with your car, based on sensors which are already existing in the car. So Tesla made the most marketing hype out of it. Some other companies did it already in a small scale. But it shows us where it's heading. So mobility devices, classical automotive devices will be updated and will have new functions, which is quite exciting for the consumer, but especially also for the innovators, for new ideas and new functionalities. Nevertheless, this has a little bit a problem in some markets. What Tesla did, they just launched it globally, updated all the devices. Maybe you can do that with a mobile phone. With the automotive or automobile, it's a little bit different. So Hong Kong was one country or one area where the regulation said it's not allowed to update the car and you're not allowed to drive the car on autopilot in Hong Kong. Japan from the beginning said it's not allowed, but in Hong Kong they weren't asked, they just had to make a rollback. Actually, I don't know if they did already, but they have to figure it out how to make a rollback to the old software. So the next slide. This is called Volvo Concept 26. Why 26? Because Volvo thinks 26 minutes is the average commute time in the United States. So they make some kind of hybrid approach as a concept where they say most of the time you drive, but if the car will go autonomous, then the complete interior is focused on more entertaining. You can sit back, relax, watch videos. Oops. And just relax. So basically this is the concept from Volvo. And why I show you all these things, because everything of that will open up new opportunities and also new use cases you can bring to the user to to devices and to other environments. So the Americans and the Swedish are very good. Nevertheless, the Germans sometimes also do something nice. So on the next slide, so Mercedes showed at Tokyo Motor Show something they call FO15, which in this case it's primarily focused on, maybe you help me, I just tell you next. Next, please. You see inside, it's more like a living room instead of a car, which is primarily focused driving autonomously. And as you see, there's a lot of panel, there's a lot of display area, there's a lot of other connected devices inside, which all of them, again, open up a variety and enormous amount of use cases, equal business cases, equal opportunities for you, us, and everyone. Next. So the Japanese also have something like this in mind. This is from Tokyo Motor Show. They call it the Ids Concept. Same here. Maybe you have some certain limited time where you drive on your own, but most of the time it drives autonomously, and you're spending time on your devices or on a huge panel. So the panel sizes in the cars will increase dramatically over the next years, which is quite positive for the panel makers. Next slide, please. So this is quite exciting as well. So we are always talking about cars, but actually when you really look into business cases, use cases, trucks are actually very, very interesting, because you can immediately say how much money you save, how much money you make. So Daimler used their sub-brand Freightliner in the United States to have their first autonomous truck driving. This was in Nevada, beginning of the year. The same will happen in Germany shortly, and also then in Japan. So what it means is the truck itself, most of the time when the driver feels bored or is actually not need to take care of the street, can drive autonomously, which then, this is the next slide, please, gives you, this is one of my first use cases, give you one example. One use case with these autonomous trucks is now that you have something called platooning, which means is if 3, 4, 5 trucks drive behind each other, there is a certain amount of wind advantage, and you gain advantage on fuel consumption. So the first truck actually, in most cases, has roughly 5% fuel reduction, the second 9.7, and the third one, I think also 9.7, seeing from here, roughly. So what it means is you can immediately say, if you do a truck platooning, you save around 10% of your costs from fuel, which is quite exciting if you think as how much gas and how much gasoline every truck company is using right now. Nevertheless, now also referring to what Mr. Stanchi said in regard of kind of sharing the value, and this is a little bit just thinking about sharing the value. No, one back, please. Still stay. Sharing still the value of these three 5%, 10%, 10%. So most likely, most of these platoons are not from one company. So it's not, let's say, DHL, UPS, or DHL and some other. It's mostly different companies who are driving behind each other. And the one guy, actually, who chooses who's the first guy and who's the last guy. So in the best case, there is a system which shares the fuel consumption reduction to all 3 parties or all 4 parties. So this is a good example how you can make kind of an invisible asset kind of in a Wang Dao style available to all parties, and still people like it. And actually when we talk to German truck companies, they want to do that. So they know they won't do it alone, they need to share these kind of fuel consumptions. Next slide, please. So now going a little bit back from cars and trucks to something completely different. This is a startup from Europe, which is, they call it the Starship ground drone. The idea behind it is that you buy groceries in a store, and then the grocery store just puts it in this drone, and the drone drives to your home in a very, very defensive manner. So the plan is not to drive over this lovely guy here on the right. So we will most likely see drones not in the sky only, but also on the ground. And that said, there are, again, numerous use cases, business models around that, how you can make money out of it and how you can improve the society. On the next slide, please. So this, you know, so this is something local. And I think this is quite exciting because not just that it's a great idea and well done, maybe a little bit expensive in the beginning. Nevertheless, in Europe especially, people see this as a very, very good innovation. There is no product like this. So in a lot of newspapers, you hear about Gogoro in Europe, which is quite exciting for Taiwan. Next slide, please. So this is a company you will hear in the coming months. So this is a startup from, let's say, United States / China. They are planning to build a factory also in Nevada for $1 billion US, and they want to have an autonomous car, whatever it will look like. At CES show, you will see what it is. And their target is they want to create new business model, new use cases around it. Next slide, please. This maybe you saw already. This is the egg from Google, one of the first autonomous cars a CE IT company did. Next slide, please. Apple Carplay, the idea from the IT companies as well is, of course, going into the car. The easiest way is going over the head unit and mirroring your smartphone. Nevertheless, some OEM car makers don't like that too much, so you see the adoption rate is rather slow than fast. On the next slide, you have the Chinese equivalent, Baidu Car Life. There's Google Android Auto and so on, so you will see some more of these types. On the next slide, just to give you an idea, it doesn't need to be your own car. You can also make a lot of business cases, use cases around mobility without even having a car. Uber is one example. All these lines there actually are data assets. And in this case, Uber is the happy guy who has the ownership of these data assets and will make money out of it. Next slide, please. So about the volume, you see it everywhere in the newspapers, but just to tell it again. So we expect from 50 million connected cars right now, it will grow to 2020 to 250 million. And this doesn't include any connected trucks or any other connected mobility devices. You see huge growth and huge opportunity. Next slide, please. So all new cars sold in the future by 2025 are internet connected, for sure. Thank you. Next. So maybe quickly a slide to give an idea who are the major players in today's market, or what people think who will be potentially the new players. What is the market cap side on the stock exchange or on the VC market? Because we have some, yeah, we have in there, yes. So which is quite interesting. Of course, you have the IT guys in the front. Toyota is leading on the third. And Tesla, even though you thought they are running in the front, not yet. So there's still some players who are very much looking into disrupting the field. Next slide, please. So we had 3 months ago an event in Stuttgart in Germany where we had around 40 different OEMs who we asked them if they think there's a threat from Apple, Google, Uber and others. And most of them actually, they see it as a threat. And some of them think, let's try to partner. The others are actually quite defensive. I don't know if it's good or bad. Everyone has to decide on his own. But just to give you an idea how the market is looking into. Next slide, please. So this slide is very important because also, again, thinking about this one DAO style is it's very important that assets, the ownership of the data is shared to all parties and not owned by one party. So these are some of the interest group and standardization groups who try to make standardizations that everyone will benefit. And actually our company and related companies, we very much focusing on making these standards happen to make business models available for everyone. I think 2 more slides and then I'm done. So looking into where are the business models, this is an important slide. So you have different categories, and in these different categories you can look inside and say in which categories can I improve car, trucks, mobility devices. And over every question mark, when you talk to especially German or Japanese OEMs, they have lists of 400, 500 use cases. And they are trying to define which of these use cases will be very beneficial to the customer, and also which use case will be beneficial for themselves, for the business model. The next slide. So this is my summary right now for what we think will be the to-dos for future success, especially in the mobility space. Next slide, please. So first of all, definitely look into the opportunities. What are the future business models? This is extremely important because a lot of companies we know and also happened in the past, they go into something which won't happen or is basically overrated. Very important is find partners, do it together, and don't try to make winner takes it all. Third, it's extremely important to have flexible APIs for partners. Closed environments don't work. You see this with Nokia Maps, which was then sold now to Audi, Mercedes, BMW. They opened up actually some days ago their APIs for certain map data to make business model happen also for others. And number 4, which is extremely important, is security. So because as our security guys always tell me, if you hack the phone, that's very bad. But if you hack your car or that your car gets hacked, then it can really create damage, casualties. So it's a different level. Security is a very, very important part in the near future. So thank you very much. That's it. If you have any questions, my email is there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.